Hello, everybody. Welcome to the POAP Community Call number 37. It is where I'm at least, a very, very warm September the 21st, 2022. But I'm great to be able to share this time with you, everyone. My name is Mr. Mojo, and I am happy to be here with my friends. First, I have JENetics, who is leading over at POAPathon and Ultrasound Merch. Hello.
Ha! Hoo! Ha! Got that button. All right. Hello.
Hello. We also have Frankie, who does a bunch of communications for POAP. Great to have you on.
Greetings. How's everyone doing?
I'm doing pretty good, my man. We also have Nixorokish, who's the onboarding lead over at Get POAP and is also a core eStaker member. Hello.
Hello. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. And we have another special guest up here. We have Professor Werder, who is over at POAPathon and does a whole bunch of nounish things, as well as educating using POAPs. Hooray.
Hey, happy to be here. It's so great to be chilling with you guys tonight.
And we have iDecentralized, better known as Anthony, who is POAP's growth manager. Hello, sir.
Ka-chow, ka-chow.
And finally, last but not least, we have Logic Beach over from Grid Plus and also a major player here in the POAP community. Hello, sir.
Hey guys, is it Wednesday already, my dudes?
I know it becomes
It's
Wednesday,
Wednesday, my
fast.
dudes.
It is Wednesday, my dude.
Guess what day it is?
POAP community call time, everyone. Okay, so of course we give out a POAP during this call, and the way to do that you will learn at the end. But to help yourself out, you can go over to the Join Guild channel here in this official POAP Discord, and you can go ahead and join the guild. That's going to help you out a little bit later, as I said. And we'll get into the details of how all that works a little bit later. But all right, everyone, let's go ahead and get started for this week. So we're going to start off with a major discussion that we had last week, because last Wednesday, Ethereum mainnet finally merged. Isn't it great, everyone? Something that we've been waiting for forever. The culmination of it finally happened, and it was such a large event.
Man, was that only last Wednesday?
I know, right?
I know,
I feel the same way.
I know. I feel like it was a little bit forever ago too, just because there's so much that always goes on in the crypto space, and so it's like, wow, it's only been a week, man. It's felt like a little bit longer, right? But all right, so of course there was a how am I going to introduce all this? There was a gathering over on the Ethereum Foundation's YouTube channel where there were over 40,000 people who were watching Ethereum mainnet finally merge. And it really went off without a hitch, didn't it? I've seen it equated to trying to change a car engine, like a car's engine, while it's driving down the track. And they were able to pull it off successfully. Any other analogies that we could have for that?
I think the one that I heard is changing the foundation of a building without moving the building.
Oh, goodness.
Hey, they just did that in San Diego.
Oh, what? That's crazy.
But yeah, like I think I and everybody else was extremely surprised to see not a single missed proposed block. Like it was just like nothing changed. I mean, it was a software upgrade. You don't really notice when your phone upgrades at night, and that's exactly what it felt like, didn't it?
That's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah. Actually, I think you noticed your phone getting upgraded more than the merge.
Yeah, you wake up in the morning and you're like, why do I have to type in my password again? Why?
Yeah. Did anyone else notice?
Yeah, we didn't even have to do that.
Yeah, like almost literally nothing changed except for I have noticed that my transactions, anything I send or get out onto the network, is like almost instantly included into a block. And yeah, that's about it. Like there's no guess about when it's going to get done. It's like the next block every time.
I've
So
gotten
when we play like FOMO nouns for the nouns WTF, and you can see each block now is exactly the same. Whereas when we were playing that before, like some would come up and they would be really short, and others would be really long, and there was no rhyme or reason. And now it's very steady, and it's there's some quickness to it as well.
What is
I
this
have been
that
getting
you
a lot of
just
scam
posted?
emails afterwards saying like your wallet has failed the merge or you need to upgrade. I really hope no one's getting taken by these.
Yeah, same here. I saw something like that, and I was just like, "Oh no!" And it looks like it comes from MetaMask support. It's the worst.
Oh goodness,
Yeah,
you
any
know.
email saying that you failed to merge is false, and it is a scam.
Yes, for practically everyone with the transition over to proof of stake, really there's nothing that you had to do, and it was very, very impressive that they were able to pull all this off because we saw participation not even drop really. Where was it at before it merged? It would typically be around, like 97, 98% all the time, and it's like still there. So impressive what they were able to do. But that's years of research, development, and testing, isn't it? And they pulled it off quite well.
I was thinking that it would look like one of the testnet merges, but there's something that I guess we didn't, or at least I didn't consider, and that's there was a lot riding on this. Like all the validators didn't want to miss a block on the mainnet chain with like actual value on it, right? So when you see like the Go Early merge or the Ropsten merge and all that, there wasn't a lot to lose if you didn't update your node or it was offline and stuff like that. So when it mattered, it went perfect because it had to.
Yeah, there's a lot of monetary incentives to make sure that you correctly transition over. But yeah, it's very, very impressive what they were able to pull off with that. And I want to show some statistics that I had created. I'm going to take a picture of it so I don't accidentally share the whole thing that I did, but I have a little bit of statistics for the POAP that was given out during this. So as many of you will know, there have been POAPs that have been given out during these test nets and then ultimately on the merge call. And so this one, this time around, it was a $10 donation to stateful.eth. And there were a few networks that you could give tokens on and a few tokens that you could give. You could give like ETH, Matic, USDC, DAI stablecoin, and then RAI stablecoin. And so I had went through to take a look at the time frame in which those funds came in, and what I'm about to show is people who would have qualified to earn the POAP. So I'm about to post this in the community calls chat right now. So there were about over 14,500 qualifying transactions and about $150,000 that was able to be raised with this POAP. It's just so impressive what was able to be done.
Wow, that's actually pretty amazing. Thanks for sharing the stats. Can you maybe just say it out loud for everybody where the donations went?
Yeah, it
Like
went.
what
Yeah,
sort of efforts it's funding?
yeah. So it went to stateful.eth, and to be honest, I'm probably not the best person to explain what that does. Perhaps somebody else on the panel would have a much better explanation than I would.
People.eth goes to the Protocol Guild, and the Protocol Guild maintains a list of all of the core devs who are building the ecosystem. So I think right now there are 119 people on that list, and it pretty much evenly disperses the funds those across those devs. It has an NFT project going on right now called Home of the Heart, where it's also raising funds to go to those developers. And I think the merge call actually this is something Mojo is going to talk about later. But yeah, it's essentially supporting the infrastructure of the ecosystem and the people who build it.
Excellent. Thank you for that explanation. It's definitely a
Yes.
worthy place for these funds to go to. Because if it wasn't for these developers, if it wasn't for people who were researching everything that goes into this, it wouldn't be possible. So being able to show appreciation for them and to be able to send funds their way for their hard work is such a wonderful and thoughtful thing to do for them, I think. And it really shows the power of POAP as well and what it's able to do to bring people together, to, and in this case, give to something that makes sure that we're all able to be here. If it wasn't for this infrastructure, this wouldn't be possible at all.
Be possible, and we wouldn't necessarily all have the same infrastructure. It would be much more difficult to point people to a website and say, like, hey, go check out here with whatever wallet you have, or PayPal, or a credit card. As soon as you introduce a bunch of different factors, like, people just don't follow through. There only needs to be one snag for someone to forget about it, close the window, and leave. Whereas everyone who wants a POAP already has an address, already has funds on that address, and can send it to a wallet that is going to disperse it to the protocol devs.
Right. I think that's spot on. So having the ability to do that, of course, you're going to want to take advantage of it. And in the other merge POAPs that were given out, those also went to good causes as well. And so I think it went to stateful.eth another time as well. I think that was the Folia merge POAP. I believe it went to them as well. Mainnet merge POAP goes to them as well. So really good to see that. So I want to move on. So there is a community activity that we had spoke about last week as well, that Logic Beach you had set up. So there was a POAP art canvas for the merge. Could you please talk about it with us? JENetics already
absolutely.
posted the tweet that you had put showing off all the art.
It was a lot of fun, and I wanted to shout out to, I can't even name everybody that helped. I mean, it looks like it was just me, but there was probably 10 or 15 other people that were like making that happen. Thanks to all the people that even just shared it and got the word out about it, because it was so successful it nearly broke, and it was kind of fun to see that happen. Okay, so I actually have some stats that I sort of just memorized. So these are roundabout numbers, but something like 400,000 pixels were placed in I think it was about 2 hours, might have been a little less, because they decided to end the canvas since it became people just fighting for territory near the end. It was very fascinating to see that happen. I do want to shout out a few of the communities that I saw that really produced some great pieces on this canvas. I'm doing this from memory because I'm just sitting in my car in a parking lot at the vet, but it was EV Mavericks, the people over from ETH Finance. Those guys built that lion in the bottom left. They did that by hand. There was no bots in use over there. Like, it was
Really?
extremely impressive. I helped them just like get their asset in Pixel Perfect like as a reference for them, and they just sort of did it. I was talking with one of my friends from Grid Plus, and he said that over in the ETH Finance Discord and the EV Mavericks Discord, they had like 50 or 60 individual pixel placers over there. So there was no one that was going to be able to fight them. That was just really cool to see. Such a like coordinated effort. Also, the Rocket Pool team, it seems they had two teams that weren't communicating because there's two separate Rocket Pool logos on that canvas. And I
Yeah.
think that's constantly. So they coordinated so well in two separate groups, which is sort of, what's the word for that? Like, it's ironic.
It's bullish.
Dapnode did some cool stuff. I was proud of them too. They did that all by hand, and their color grading. I helped them with their logo a little, and they killed it. They got it up there. All the people that helped get my little logic bot in the bottom right corner, that was cool to see. That sort of just like I didn't even have to take part in it. It just happened. That was really cool. Oh, there's so many more. Phone on. Just trying to think of the big ones, but from memory, it's not gonna happen.
I want to give
The biggest
a shout
one,
out to HodlerCon.
yeah.
Because they they had a plan. So they had come together and they had created a script to make one of their
beach bums, right?
Yes, thank you. I was like, oh,
there was a beach bum.
Yes.
I saw it. Yeah,
yeah.
the beach bum.
I was trying to think. I was like, man, what did they call their NFTs again? And I feel so bad because I'm like part of their group and I'm forgetting what they even called their NFTs.
Did Woe create them?
Yeah,
Yes. So they
their
had ran a
thing
script
fit
to
perfectly.
make a
Yeah,
yeah
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah they had made a script. I think you had pointed them to one that allowed them to easily place pixels for their beach bum, and they went and they did it, and it turned out wonderful.
Yeah, and their NFT is kind of perfect for that canvas because it actually is built on top of the Nouns
Yep, it's
protocol.
very
It's
nounish.
It's just
I was
pixel.
really
Yeah, it's pixels.
Yeah, I helped develop that whole NFT project, at least the art for it, but it was a fork of the Lil Nouns code. And what's his name? Wizards of Hex. He's been on here before. Whoa. Me and him and maybe a couple other people. I don't know who else made that happen, but yeah, I mean, you can't really think of a better synergy between like an NFT and that canvas because it's just pixels already.
Yep.
Also, huge shout out to anybody that helped create the giant ETH symbol and the panda. Obviously, that's the centerpiece. The panda was touch and go at first. I was like, oh no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to make it. It was going very awry. And if you guys have seen the just the animated version of that canvas, it it starts to become like a horrific,
Yeah.
like, I don't know
Demonically
if you're familiar with the.
possessed.
Yes, exactly. There's like these memes or these comics of Garfield, but he's all dark and he's like a spider. I don't know if never mind. That's just like a
Yes,
meme, but that's
I've
what it
seen
started to
those.
turn into. Hello,
Yeah.
John. I was like, oh no, the panda's a demon.
It
But
looks
yeah,
great though. It turned out great in the end.
It
I
it
thought.
really
did.
does. And I loved how the community came together. I think it was even uncoordinated and just started creating like this surge of energy look around it with like the purple to pink, like vaporwave that wrapped that whole thing. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, it's like
Oh man.
it has an aura around it. Like it's
Yeah,
powering
like
up like in one of these
exactly.
like Dragon Ball films or whatever. I'm trying to think what they actually like shonen or something like that. Like in one of those shonen manga where that people get the aura around them. That's kind of what I felt like was happening.
Like an old Sega video game,
Right.
Tekken or something. That's what I was. But
Right.
yeah, that canvas went so well. It almost didn't. It almost didn't work with how well. Like, it's hard to describe, but it almost broke because we
Yep.
had so many pixel placers all at the same time. 400,000 pixels in 2 hours. It was absolutely the most active canvas I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was there were so many people that were interacting with it that it was pushing the limits of the server that the POAP art canvases are hosted on. So, how does that make you feel knowing that because of something you organized that you pushed this technology to its limit?
Oh man, I want to give a little background on that. So we knew that we were going to start. Like, I started planning and like talking about this canvas maybe 3 weeks in advance, and with the help of you guys and some others, we were just trying to tweet it out there, get people to like, hey, we should organize. We should organize. Get your communities together. And mostly it didn't happen. It didn't happen until like the day before. Then the whole communities, like all these communities, started DMing me on POAP.art, or to get a guild built in POAP.art. So everything that was really planned and like coordinated happened probably within 48 hours of the actual merge. It was insane. But that's how it always works. That's how these canvases always go. This one, you can imagine, like it was like tenfold that, but still in the exact same time frame. So it was almost a little overwhelming. A lot's going on in my life outside of crypto as well. So I didn't want to miss out on this. Like, I knew this was the big one. This is the merge call. So I had a lot of like inspiration and like dedication to make that happen. And what turned out blew my mind. Like, I can't really say it better than that. It was amazing.
Yeah, congratulations on organizing and coordinating that. Definitely big
Thank
props,
you.
man.
Thanks so much. It was a blast, and I appreciate you and everybody else who even helped get the word out about that. It was awesome.
No problem. And definitely deserved uh being amplified, people knowing
Hmm.
about it. But all right, Nixorokish, I got a question for you. So you had the opportunity to be in the actual call for the merge. What was that experience like, and what all did you do during the call?
It was nerve-wracking. I had helped put together the agenda beforehand, so I was the person who went through the agenda for the audience and told them exactly what to expect throughout the call. And I had been on the last 3 testnet calls, and the last 3 testnet calls felt very much like Hangouts. And I was not nervous at all. But for this one, in our internal planning chat, people kept posting screenshots of the viewership on YouTube, and it made me more and more nervous. And once we got to 42,000, I was like, I can no longer speak on this thing. So once we got to the POAP, I was supposed to explain the POAP part, and I could not find the slide for the POAP, so I was supposed to explain it, and I think I got every detail wrong on how to donate. But it all worked out. People still donated. They figured it out. We posted on the on our Twitter. It was a ton of fun. I was having so much fun the whole time. People kept DMing me and being like, "Stop laughing on camera."
Yeah, that's
Was that
definitely-
Superfizz?
Yeah, Superfizz did message me. I think Superfizz also was having massive FOMO because Eastacre got a cabin up in Canada, and so a bunch of us were streaming from the same house, which house that Lamboshi put together was amazing. It was right on it was right on a lake, and it was just amazing. And
Yeah, I saw Unvedica's video about it. It looked really cool.
yeah, and so I think Superfizz had some FOMO, so I think the happier that we seemed, he was like, "Meh."
How dare I not go?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. Yeah, whenever I heard that you were doing the whole cabin thing, I was like, man, that sounds like such a great place to be for this event. Because you get to spend it with friends. And that's also why I like POAPs in a way too, because it is a way to prove that you were able to attend something. And even though I had to do it virtually, I was still able to, at least from my perspective, I was able to watch my friends and people that I know, or even just people who are boots on the ground, the people who are actually causing all this to happen, explain what's happening, give the prominence of it, and watch it happen. And like I was saying, I can say with my POAP collection, I was there.
It was wild. It was a wild week. It was so much fun. We were up, I think that night, we were up till like 3 or 4 until the merge call, and then we didn't go to bed till like 6 or 7 because we were all so hyped.
Yeah. Yep. And I was up until like 3 in the morning because that's around the time that it happened here in Central Time in the United States. And I remember my fiance was like, "Are you gonna come to bed?" And I was like, "No, the merge is happening." And she's just like, "You and your technology." Like, yep, that's right.
Yeah, I ruined my sleep schedule for that. It messed me up for like 2 days.
Oh man. But all right, I think we're going to move on to another topic on our agenda. Thanks so much for talking to me about the merge and your experiences and the art canvas and everything. It was such a great time. Wonderful that we were able to organize stuff like that. But all right.
Yeah, thanks. Looking forward to the next one, which I think is called The Verge.
Hopefully, it doesn't take too long to arrive, but they're going to have to figure out how to do it all properly. So, who knows? We'll see. But all right, so Professor Werder, I want to talk to you now. So you
Hello
are,
there, Mr. Mojo.
hello. So you are all things nouns, and you had shown me something very interesting the other day. Something that I think would actually trick me into actually learning these skills. So I want you to talk about it. Food nouns. What is this?
Food nouns. Food nouns is what we call a tasty fork of the NounsDAO. It's an extension project, and we started doing some Twitter shows related to it, including one called Milk and Cookies, because my particular food noun is a little cookie. So from there, as part of that show, we have a recipe that people can make, and then they can earn a POAP for making it. So what we did was on the POAP that we're giving out during the Twitter Spaces, it will have the recipe of the weekly cookie, and then they can make that, put it on Twitter, tag us, and then they get like the official baker chef POAP. And we're doing some giveaways with that one. So it's just a fun way to kind of start to incorporate the mission of what Food Nouns is trying to do in terms of shedding some light on certain issues within the food industry and restaurant industry. So it's a whole bigger animal, but that's like the shortest version.
Right. So some
Can
people
you,
maybe.
Professor, sorry, Mr. Mojo. Professor Werder, can you drop those links to Food Nouns in the community call?
Yeah, sure. And I forgot I wanted to drop
can-
that. Oh, I don't know if you wanted me to drop the POAP
Nope.
yet,
I
to show that
I
the
had
link to
dropped
that one.
one. I dropped
Oh, okay.
one, not the one that you're going to showcase. I dropped the other one from the 19th.
Okay.
But
Okay, the
but
newest
yes,
one. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I had posted their Twitter as well
Yep, I see
as
it now.
the foodnouns.wtf.
Cool.
So some people may be a little unfamiliar with how nouns actually work. So some get the gist where, okay, it's this thing where it generates art and people vote on it, and then it gets auctioned off. And you had sort of alluded to sort of what the funds are going for. Could you break down how the funds generated are actually being used?
So, well, it depends on. So, if you're talking about NounsDAO, like the big one, that each time, if you're going to use any funds from that treasury, it has to go through a whole proposal process. So each time a noun is auctioned off, the person who wins that auction also wins the voting rights in the DAO. So one noun, one vote. And they're also the only ones who can propose any proposals to use the funds. So that's how that works in terms of funds usage. With the smaller, sub DAOs or the baby DAOs for the nouns forks, they're doing different things with the funds, but a lot of them work in the same way. So Food Nouns has a similar treasury where, but it has a few different splits from its auction. For a nouns auction, all funds go right into the nouns treasury. For something like Food Nouns, they have a different split for different wallets to where it goes. Most of it goes into their treasury, but there's a piece that actually goes back to the original NounsDAO. So they're having a few different ways that is working with that particular auction. But the Nouns protocol and their whole front end as well can be forked and used for your own auction if you'd like. So it is available. So and there's a few different projects going on that are actually going to make that even easier to do, that are going to be called like a one-click DAO. So coming soon. All kinds of fun things happening.
Yeah, I've always seen the nouns as a loose group of people. I mean, it's decentralized, so they're actually taking what DAOs are supposed to be, which is, okay, you have this thing that allows you to generate funds. The people who own the tokens, they're the ones who propose what you're going to do with those funds, and then you appropriate it as needed. And what I like about nouns, especially the food nouns, these funds go to a whole bunch of things that that deal with people's ability to have access to food, people knowing how to cook and things like that, or even just having some fun things. I'm going to go ahead and post some of the Notion pages. So
They're doing,
there's
they have a whole, there's a
breakdowns.
whole major mission down the road here. And what I didn't mention is the founders are chefs and pretty well connected within that world. So there are a lot of pretty well known names that are finding their way into some of these Twitter Spaces and in the Discord, and it's going to be interesting to see how that grows within that particular network of trying to, starting to bring in that industry into Web3 and seeing how that works.
Yeah, as I said, this might actually trick me into actually learning how to cook, because the nouns, that they're on the front end of building community using blockchain technology to do that, and I think it's just really exciting. What other kind of things from nouns do you want to talk about? Other than the food, what kind of projects and proposals have you seen from NounsDAO that are like, oh yeah?
There's been so many. So there was a couple that included POAPs. I don't know if you remember that. There was a bidder POAP that they did for a while to sort of acknowledge those bidders who are in the hunt but don't end up with the noun. And the art was done, I think, for the first version by David Horvath, which was pretty crazy. Who's an amazing artist. A lot of people know Ugly Dolls as his character. So these are pretty high end art in terms of the POAPs. And there's so many amazing things happening within that DAO. One of the things that I'm really looking forward to is the Rose Bowl Parade float, which will be happening in January. If for those in the U.S. probably are familiar with that. So that'll be happening. And that team that's putting that together is from Stupid Buddy, which is the filmmakers behind Robot Chicken, and they're doing a documentary as part of that whole thing. So that's going to be a really interesting upcoming thing. And there's just a whole bunch of. You can see everything that's happening within the major DAO, within the big DAO. You can see right on nouns.wtf. If you click on DAO, you can see all the proposals. Everything's out in the open. Everything gets built in the open. So you can see when the proposals come on chain, you can see how the votes go in, who voted for what or against. All of that's there. And the voting, you can see everyone's vote. If you can see the noun, you can see how they voted over time. So all that information is transparent and available.
I have a question on the nouns. So, sort of like, not a difficult, well, sort of. The name, do you think all nouns are equal? The original collection of nouns, food nouns, and all the subcommunities? Or do you think each subcommunity
all nouns are not created equal? No. I mean, the original is always going to be, that's the one that holds the most value. If you look now, I think the floor price is like 73, and each day that's about where the auction's at right now. So there's no other extension or fork that's at that level. But little nouns, or LIL, LIL nouns, are probably the second largest in terms of volume and also size. So they're probably next, sort of in that pecking order. But there's a whole bunch that are doing all different kinds of things. Like you've got NounsDAO that's doing a lot of focus on skateboarding and bringing skateboarding, like redoing skateboarding parks in different low income areas and getting skateboards to kids. That was a big proposal that was phenomenal, and working with some sponsoring some professional skateboarders along with that whole proposal. So there's a lot of really interesting, fun things that are happening. But yeah, the parent nouns will always be the big dogs for sure.
All right, I want to talk to you a little bit about the nouns on Twitter, because they are very, very active and they host a lot of Twitter spaces. So, can you tell me a little bit about Noun O'Clock and what all happens
Sure.
during it?
So yeah, noun o'clock is the time of day when the auction of the noun of the day ends and the um, next auction begins. There's a little space in between where there's a game that's been built in called FOMO nouns, where you can upvote or downvote the new potential noun to try and find one that you think is aesthetically pleasing, or sometimes it might be because of the particular date that it's being born on, or whatever, that you're trying to get a certain thing. So, for example, around the merge, we were trying to get pandas, or I wanted a steak. I thought a steak would be good with an Ethereum accessory or something. So we're trying to, sometimes match up what's going on in the world. So you can play this little game. And so what's happened is that grew into a Twitter space where we're doing and playing that game while talking about it and talking to each other and, kind of joking around. And then what's also it grew from that was also adding in a daily interview of something nounish within the ecosystem. So that's been all kinds of different guests, and then along with that came some contests. So there's actual ETH being given away every day on Noun O'Clock. So it's on the Noun Square. And then also, of course, at the end, a POAP day. And the POAP art actually gets updated to reflect the noun that has been minted on that particular day. So at the time that the POAP's given out, we don't know for sure what it's going to be, and then the art gets updated, and it's been being the art's been being done by all kinds of amazing artists within the sort of nounosphere. So it's been just some amazing POAPs that have come out of this whole launch of gamifying 9 o'clock, if you will.
Yeah, it's a really excellent project and a really great community to be around. So I have one final question for you. So this term that people hear a lot, being nounish, is that a sort of a set definition, or can it be a little bit subjective? And if it is subjective, what does being nounish mean to you?
Totally. So it's so subjective, but there's sort of this vibe. And the vibe is generally, it's so funny. This is always the question. It's just kind of funny. It's like there's a feeling of kindness. There's a feeling of something beyond just yourself. There's a feeling of community. And an overall just positive vibe in general. That's what I think of as being nounish. But there's also this other part. There's this other part that's also innovative, cutting edge, experimenting, entrepreneurial. So there's all of that too within this. So it's really different facets, but that's kind of the overall roll up of what I think of when I think of nounish.
Yeah, it's so great, and you can definitely see that if you go and look at the types of proposals and things that you see, especially within the food nouns, where it's all about making sure that for food nouns anyway, where people are able to learn how to cook, people are able to have access to good food. The industry is able to make sure that it's sustainable and able to keep things healthy and things like that. So it's basically gathering funds and being able to give back to the community that you're a part of. It's a great thing to see, and I definitely see that as being very nounish as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely very nounish. And then, the other part of this, it's sort of like I look at nouns and the nouns ecosystem as doing two things: is sort of launching that entrepreneur or that small business, and then also at the same time finding ways to contribute to public goods. And earlier you were talking about the Protocol Guild. That was a proposal, and that was passed where Nouns donated. I think it was want to say 500 ETH, I believe, to the Protocol Guild to make sure that the backbone, the roadways are supporting the overall, that they're helping to support the infrastructure.
Excellent. It's great to see that. But all right, Professor Werder, thank you so much for talking to us about nouns and food nouns and all things nounish. We'll come back to you in a little bit to talk about your favorite POAPs, but I do want to get to a very, very important community discussion topic this week. So, we had spoke earlier about using POAPs to donate to causes, and JENetics and Nixorokish, you wanted to have a discussion on this, so I'm going to go ahead. I want to hand it off to you. JENetics, I'm going to want you to start on this one, so you can take it away.
Sure. So what happened was during the POAPathon celebration for our anniversary, we had a lot of people come in and say, hey, I'm a part of POAPathon, but I'm in a region of the world that currently had something happen. Specifically, it's what's going on in Iran right now. If you guys are not familiar with that, a woman who's 22 years old was taken into custody and then died shortly afterwards. And she was a healthy woman when she went in, and she didn't come back out. She was arrested because she wasn't adhering to Sharia law, which over there is extremely strict. It can involve anything from not wearing your hijab correctly to even speaking. Yes, my cat. To even speaking to a man in public. Because of this, the women of Iran are standing up for themselves, and the community and the people of Iran are also standing up against the oppression that they've been under since, I think, the 60s or 70s. So
The 70s.
Thank you, the 70s. In response to that, instead of us just on the POAPathon anniversary call being like, yes, we hear you, we support you, those are just words. And I would rather support the community by making a donation POAP. So what Nixorokish and I are going to do is we're going to find an organization, which is part of OFAC, I think. It's certified by OFAC is one of the things we're hoping to find, as well as in Iran, and making a difference and helping the people stand up for the rights that they are asking for and the freedoms that they're asking for. This is not an easy thing. I have been looking for 2 days and yet to find anything. Yeah, let me hand it over to Nix. What else do you want to say?
Just to add on to that, until 1979, women in Iran were allowed to dress however they wanted, and then there was a revolution in 79 that implemented Sharia law, and people there's a lot of opposition against it, but the laws and the consequences are so draconian that there's not much they can do about it. And it takes a huge amount of courage to do what they're doing on social media right now, which is going around taking off their hijabs and burning them in the street. And posting your face on social media while you are doing something that is immediately an arrestable offense by the morality police, which is actually what they call them. That takes a huge amount of courage and just a huge amount of being fed up. And if they are this fed up that they can, en masse, decide that their freedom is worth this movement, then they have lost a lot more than we can see.
Absolutely. And I think for both of us, knowing that we live in a country where I can have my own bank account without being married, I can get a job without my husband's approval, or I can work outside of the house at all, is something that I don't take lightly, knowing that there are areas of the world that those types of freedoms and rights are not a no-brainer. And it's one of the things that there are people in this community that they use Discord as a way to escape the current situation that they're living in, and they're a part of our communities, and they get to experience a world outside of what they're currently living in, and it's really cool being in crypto and getting to meet people from literally all over the world that I would have never met anywhere else.
Yeah, so we would love to donate funds to like this cause, but yeah, JENetics has been looking for a good cause, and we're taking suggestions. We have found a couple of good ones. Well, Jen has found a couple of good ones that seem like good, worthy causes, but we have to make sure that they're like appropriate places to send money. So yeah.
Yep. So over on the POAPathon channel, I have made a bounty for a POAP. This is currently, we haven't decided if we're going to be paying. I mean, we'd love to pay the artist. I'll put it that way. We just need to make sure that like all our T's are crossed and dotted I's before we say how much. But if you would like to create some art for this POAP, probably the admins of POAPathon, as well as some representatives from the region, will be voting on the POAPs and making sure that they're appropriate. And then to get that POAP, you will be able to, you'll have to donate to the organization that we'll tell you to when we post the POAP officially. And then you'll get the POAP in return. A lot like what we did with the Ukraine POAP, or the Standing with Ukraine POAP back at the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine. POAPathon did that as well. So if you're not a part of POAPathon, you'll need to join our server. And then I'm posting in the community chat a link to the channel where the bounty is if you're an artist and would like to make a POAP and turn it in.
Excellent. Yeah, so a lot of this started yesterday, correct?
This is day 4 of the rioting.
Okay, all
And
right, great. Yeah, I had learned of it yesterday. Thanks to
Yes.
y'all. Yeah, I was unaware of this situation, and so once you had spoken to me about it, I was like, yeah, I would love to talk about it. And I had looked into it, and I really do want to really point out something that you had already said. If you go on places like Twitter, you're able to see videos of these extremely brave women who are going against what their society says things are supposed to be, a very restrictive and draconian style of life that these women have to be subjected to. Seeing that they're standing up to their oh man, sorry, I'm just feeling the tinglies on this one. Seeing them stand up to their oppressors and say, we're not going to take it anymore. We are women and we are strong and we deserve a place in society. To be able to use POAPs in a way to give back to the people who are willing to contribute towards the women and allies that are in the fight for equality in this place of the world. I love to see it. I absolutely would love to say I care about this so much that here's my monetary donation, and then here's the proof that I did that in my POAP gallery with this blockchain technology, and it helps show who we are. One of the things that POAPs are great for is that they are reflections of who you are. And part of who I am is wanting to see equality all over the world for women and minorities, and that people are given a fair chance at being able to make something of themselves and not see them be oppressed or held down because of whatever reason it's going to be. In this case, it's due to religion and things like that. But not everyone is like that under that religion for sure. But these women, I love seeing them be able to stand up and say it's time for change. and it's time for us to be treated with respect and like we're human beings.
Absolutely. I've posted a couple CNN articles. Well, one is CNN and one is NPR. So take those as you will. Read them with your eyes if you're reading standardized media, and then do your research about the area and what you can help in. This won't be the only donation POAP that POAPathon is going to do. We have some plans for another one for another region of the world that another POAPathon member currently lives in, but we're reaching out to them first before we officially announce it. So we appreciate everybody who wants to contribute either their art skills or after the POAP is released, monetary donations. And yeah, it's one of the cool things that we can do with POAPs and reward community members.
Yeah, it's really excellent and great to see. As I was saying a little bit earlier, these using POAPs to show proof of donation. Now, it's well within the range of what POAPs are useful for. So being able to use that utility to be able to give to groups that are in need, I think it's a great thing to do. And it may be something that we might see more often, especially with the adoption of this kind of technology. You may see these kind of organizations or charities say, hey, if you donate to us at all, or maybe certain amounts, give different designs, different levels, that receiving a POAP or the opportunity to receive the POAP is going to be all part of the package. It'll be very interesting to see how that works out. But all right, so we only have a few minutes left. I don't necessarily want to have the final word on anything. Is there anything else that anyone wants to say about using POAPs to donate to good causes?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think what a Web3 future where you don't it's a permissionless future. I'm really really excited to see what comes and like what projects are made, because of situations where people can't get the credentials they need due to biases or due to the countries they live in. You can really carve out your future regardless of what background you're from, just by putting in the work.
So
Absolutely.
I want to say one thing. Get POAP's raffle that we had ended today, and we had 2 winners who got DevCon tickets, and spoke to both of them, let them both know that they won. They got chosen because they were eligible through eligible POAPs, and we're stoked because they're both. One of them is like a beginner programmer, and he said he wasn't planning on going to DevCon, but he probably is going now. And the other one is somebody who did a bunch of typo fixes and a bunch of rules, and so we were stoked about both of them. So both of them got DevCon tickets through POAPs.
Yes, very great to see the opportunity be given the people who otherwise wouldn't necessarily be able to go. We actually get a shot. And hopefully things like using POAPs for donations and stuff like that is another one of those ways that we're able to give people who may not necessarily have an opportunity to give them the things that they need to actually be able to achieve what they're capable of. But all right, we only got a few minutes left. So, Professor Werder, you had shared with me.
Yes.
You shared with me 3 POAPs that are your favorite. I'm going to post them here in the community calls channel, and I want you to tell us why they're your favorite. So give me just a moment. I'm going to start pasting.
These are my 3 recent favorites, just to be clear.
Okay, 3
I got a lot
favorites.
of POAPs.
Yes.
So I can't, I can't pick between the babies, but I have, these are the 3 recent favorites.
All
so
right, so
I'm not sure which
one. Here you go.
going first. I'm just waiting for it to pop up. Oh, okay. So the first one is the recipe. So I had asked Mr. Mojo, I said, hey, have you seen any POAPs that have been used like recipe cards? Because we've started doing this for this Twitter space show that we've been doing. And he hadn't heard of it before. So I was like, oh, it's kind of a new thing. So we were thinking, like, won't that be cool? You'll have this sort of blockchain file card, as we kind of go on doing a different one every week. So just kind of a neat, cool thing. And I think the next one, I believe, is, POAPathon Down Under. So this was a really special one. This was from a bounty for a special edition of POAPathon that we did with artists and some other folks in Web3 who all live in Australia, New Zealand, in that area, and they focused on other NFT projects and things in that in Australia, and did a whole amazing week-long event on Tezos. And so we had 9 hours with them, and this was the first POAP, and that was part of a bounty with that they brought into POAPathon. So that was by one of our POAPathon artists.
Excellent.
And
yes,
we did
that was such a great show.
eight. I think we did 8 POAPs during the show. We did one each hour, and they're amazing.
I was able to be there for first 3 or 4 hours or so, and I was like, yeah, all right, it's time for me to bounce out of here.
Yeah.
But all right, and your final one.
And we had Steve from POAP in Australia. Steve. The show, and from Australia. So your coworkers there. And the final one was from Lil Sisters. This is Lil Sisters Fund is part of Lil Nouns, and this is from the post-merge Twitter space. This is an artist who's kind of been doing some art in the Nouns ecosystem, and it's pretty amazing. And I just really love the art on this, and that's why I wanted to share that one. And we were doing Little Sisters Twitter Spaces at 6:30 p.m. on Thursdays. And we're focusing on women and non-binary in the space. So that's what that's about.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing those with us. I always love seeing what people want to show because, especially with these spotlights, as I was saying a little earlier, POAPs really are the thing that becomes a reflection of yourself. And so seeing people's choices on what they want to showcase, always very interesting. So things that you're involved with and things that you feel are for good causes like the Little Sisters. Excellent. Absolutely love it. But all right, everyone.
Thanks for having me here. I appreciate it. And anytime, I love this. I love your community.
Thank you so much. But all right, everyone. We are coming to a close with our time today. So I would like to point everybody to where you would be able to claim our POAP for tonight's call. So if you are here in the official POAP Discord, you're going to go over to the Join Guild channel. And if you have not already, go ahead and join the POAP Guild on guild.xyz. The link is over there for you. And once you have connected everything, you should have the Guildor role here in the Discord. So what you're going to do once you have all that ready, you're going to click on the Claim POAP button from the guild.xyz bot, and then it will give you a link where you can go and claim your POAP. So you do need to place a transaction. It's about $1. So if you are on Ethereum mainnet, then you're going to need a transaction of about $1 worth of ETH, or you can switch over to the Polygon network. You have a few more options. You can either send in about $1 worth of Matic, or you can send in $1 of DAI stablecoin, $1 of USDC. So you have plenty of options on there. Thank you everybody for coming out to talk to us today about what's going on in the POAP community. Always an exciting time. Always a great show. That was a really fast hour as usual. But all right.
It
That was
was.
fun. Thanks for hosting, Mojo.
Thanks for coming.
And don't forget to do Gitcoin grants.
We're all trying to get our POAP. Yes, Gitcoin grants. I got to go do mine. Oh my God, I keep forgetting. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me.
Running out of time.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Bye-bye. See y'all
Bye.
later. See you next week.